Hey hikers, Calman here, and welcome back to my channel, Everyday Backpacker. As you can see, I'm standing in my very tiny apartment kitchen for the start of my new video series on dehydrating food. I decided back in November, it being February now, to start a video series following my experimenting into making my own dehydrated meals. And the reason why I decided to do this was because I have spent many years backpacking, and only on a few occasions have I ever actually prepared my own food. I have lived off of the dehydrated or freeze-dried prepackaged meals pretty much since I moved out here to Montana, because I have an easy source of them at my place of employment. Over the summer, I started working out more, started trying to eat a little bit healthier, decided I wanted to kind of expand my repertoire of cooking. In fact, the last time I remember cooking on the trail was when I worked for a camp up in Wisconsin, leading backpacking and canoeing trips, and we had to make our own meals, and most of them were pretty basic meals. So I decided to go ahead and buy a dehydrator and try to expand my horizons a little bit. And I thought it would be a fun thing for me to explore with all of you. I have never done this before, and I am learning as I go, so I won't even begin to pretend that I'm an expert on this subject, but it's been kind of a fascinating thing to learn. And before I bought a dehydrator, I was actually consulting some of the books we had at our store to kind of foster the idea of moving forward with this venture. And one of those books that I used or got was Lip Smacking Backpacking, which is probably what we're going to use most for some of the early recipes we cover. Now in this video, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the dehydrator and some of the overall things I've learned, and then in the videos that come, we'll start with some more basic recipes and kind of work our way up. Alright, so the dehydrator that I chose to buy was the Nesco FE75A Snackmaster. Sounds pretty cool. But it's basically just an analog, stackable tray designed dehydrator. I went with this model because it's relatively small and low cost, because I'm just starting out and I'm only doing this for myself, so I don't need a massive expensive food tray, and being a retail employee, I can't really afford anything expensive. But this one has a series of trays. You can do as few as 4 trays and as many as 12 trays at a time. And the trays are just stackable. And it does come with a few other accessories. It does have smaller weave trays for sticky items such as like fruits and such, to make cleanup a little bit easier, or smaller foods that might fall through the trays as they are. And then it also has these solid trays which insert, and these are for like dehydrating liquidy items, so making fruit leather, which is one of the first things that we're going to talk about, pasta sauces, chilies, things like that, various items that need to be dehydrated when they're in a semi-liquid state. And like I said, it's just an analog design. There's no timer. It just has a heat selector, and the unit itself blows hot air from the outside and brings air up through the middle. So it circulates the heated air thoroughly amongst the whole trays. And then, of course, there's a base unit to catch anything liquid that may come down as you are dehydrating. And so in addition to the cookbook, Lip Smacking Backpacking, which does have quite a few different recipes, they're broken up into meal types, and they have all kinds of stuff. Not all of them do require a dehydrator, many of them do, but there's some really great recipes in here, and they are broken up into graphs, which will have different features that you might be looking for. So calorie count, whether or not it's a vegan recipe, or a vegetarian recipe such as that, as well as general nutrition values and calories per ounce. So obviously the more calories you have per ounce, the less you're going to have to carry to get the same nutritional values. But in addition to that, a really good resource so far for me has been this book that came with the Dehydrator that's put out by Nesco. And it gives general guidelines for dehydrating various things. So fruits, meats, fruit rolls or fruit leathers. And then it has graphs which will talk about how to do different types of items and the amount of time that it requires. Times for dehydrating things do vary. If you go too fast, the food is very dry and brittle, or if you do it too slowly, then you run the risk of the items actually going bad while in the dehydrator itself. So a lot of it is going to be somewhat trial and error as you go, but this is a very handy resource because it helps you to coordinate the various techniques that are going to be needed, the times that are going to be needed, and the temperature settings that will be needed for the various things. So this is going to be very helpful. This has been very helpful in guiding out some ways to do not only dehydrating, but also packaging, rehydrating, prep times, things like that. And then obviously there's going to be some online resources as well, but these are all the things that I've been using to try to come up with the knowledge that I need to begin this process of dehydrating foods. So those are some of the items and resources that I'm going to use as I begin to learn how to make my own meals for the backcountry. And we're going to go through ever increasing recipes, things that I kind of want to try out, and go through the cooking process of those. And then hopefully you'll get a chance to try some of them, both here in the kitchen as well as in the field. Now the important thing, if you watch any of my videos, I am not going to completely go away from using the prepackaged meals at all, but I definitely am trying to supplement that and learn as I go. So in the next video, I'm going to do a little bit about how to make some fruit leather, which is basically like fruit roll-ups, only natural. It makes a great snack, and it's pretty easy to get started with. It only takes a few hours of dehydrating. And then we'll kind of continue on from there. If you have any suggestions or comments, things that you've learned from dehydrating, or recipes you might be interested in trying out, let me know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.